Chondro Corner where we rise and grow. Twist and turn, let the passion flow. Chondro Corner, watch the future shine. Every scale a story, one of a kind.
From the shadows we move, striking out bright. In every twist we find the light. Breeding the best, gotta have patience in this game. Chondro Corner, where we make our name. Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner. Chondro Corner, where we rise and grow. Twist and turn, let the passion flow. Chondro Corner, watch the future shine. Every scale a story, one of a kind.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Chondro Corner on the Herp Collectors Network. Tonight we are hitting episode 48. It's pretty crazy that we're already 48 episodes in. It's been a hell of a journey. It's been an amazing journey. We've had some incredible guests. So without you guys, we couldn't make this possible. So thank you. Before we bring Leah on, we're just going to go through, make a quick round of the comment section because we have lots to cover tonight. Shauna, hi, my love. Love you. Thank you for coming on. Randy, as always, thank you for coming on. Daniel, thank you for tuning in tonight. It's always appreciated. We're going to wrap it right there, and we're going to go ahead and bring Leah in. Hello, hello.
Hey, how are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Doing good.
So first of all, thank you for coming on. It's your first podcast, right?
This is my first podcast, so thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to do this because I know we all start with our first one somewhere. So
I was very excited when you reached out, and it's an honor to be on your channel.
Well, thank you. So we're going to do it like how we do pretty much every episode and start it with back at the basics. What got you into reptiles?
So I've always loved reptiles, but I had never really, I had herped a lot as a kid, but never really could have one on my own. And then so once I became an adult, actually, my business partner, Tiffany, she actually, when we first met, she was like, oh, by the way, I have a leopard gecko. And that was the biggest green flag she could have ever said to me, because that was actually something I had always wanted. I don't know, as a kid, that's the species I had wanted. And then when we moved in together, we actually decided, you know what, we've kept this gecko going for a while. Let's go ahead and, go get some snakes. And so we went to our first reptile expo. This would have been in 2020. So we went to our first reptile expo in anticipation. We were hoping to get a colubrid or mainly a milk snake, but we ended up with getting 2 ball pythons actually.
So with the 2 that you picked up, did you pick them up with the intention of breeding, or are you like, okay, we're just gonna start this collection?
It kind of was not meant to be the start of anything, quite honestly. That it wasn't meant to be the beginning that it was meant to be, oh, let's just pick up 2 pets. We actually got them from Brandon with Texas Scale Exotics. Yeah. He was wonderful and it was a great experience. And then from there, it went from, we had gotten 2 females. We were like, oh, this is cool. Kind of got a little bit addicted to reptiles. And we started to going to every reptile show we could. Within like the span of a couple months, we were up to around 20 ball pythons. And we were like, oh man, let's breed ball pythons. As one does. And
the trend around here.
Yeah, it seems to be the common theme.
Did you guys, when you got into the ball pythons, did you start with racks or did you start with enclosures, like build out enclosures?
We started with enclosures that slowly took over our first home together. Like they were in the kitchen, they were in our living room, it was becoming everything. And then we found out about racks, and then we were like, oh, okay, I think this is, the solution for us. And we switched over, and at the same time we were like, we were looking for bioactives. We had been at our first NARBC Arlington at the time, and we had done some research about them, and we knew they needed to be set up for a while. Well, we went around to the whole show, and we couldn't find anyone selling any bioactives that had been like established for a good amount of time where we could go ahead and get animals and put in them.
Mm-hmm.
So Seth with Huff's Herps, we actually talked to him. He made us our first custom bioactive, and we put the order and everything. We were at the same time, we were like, well, let's go ahead and try our hand at making our own, seeing how it goes. And from there, it kind of spiraled into, we loved the process behind it. We loved building it. We loved planting it out. We loved everything about it. And we were like, let's make more.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of spiraled from there to, instead of, we were like, we're just going to all of these shows. Why don't we, just try our hand at setting up a table at one, and we'll sell bioactives and see how it goes.
How long does it typically take from like building it out to having it grow and look established like it did on the table when you would vend with them? What was the time frame on that?
So it typically could be anywhere from 3 weeks to like a month and a half to 2 months. So it was like a lengthy process. So we could have stuff like sitting around our house at different various stages of growth. And we wanted to make sure all those also had, established cleanup crew.
Did you find that there was a market for that? Like, were people buying those enclosures, or
there was? We actually did that by the start of 2021, and then we still do bioactives here and there, but we were vending consistently at one point around, I want to say 15 to 20 shows a year with solely bioactives. And it was really, really awesome to be able to get and share that to people, and people kind of start taking notice. At first they start asking, coming up with questions. They're like, wow, you guys actually, take the time, like, get established. And we would go to shows, and I think our biggest show, we sold like 25 bioactives.
That's awesome. When did you make the transition from that being your primary focus to recently, like the end of last year, beginning of this year, you kind of shifted things around a little bit?
So we've always had reptiles, like, since we met, and we've always had all of this cool stuff. We just haven't amped it up as much. So I think it was 2022. Mm-hmm. We had really gotten out of the ball pythons, and I still had some other reptiles, and I got our first Dominican red mountain boa, and that like changed the game. And I became like addicted to the species. I absolutely adore them. So from there, it's been, growing our collection, getting everything. Last year, I raised 3 litters. And then, they were 2024 babies, and I raised them up and had them ready to go this year. So we just haven't really posted as much of our reptiles. They've been more of like kind of on the private end. We've taken photos and stuff for ourselves, and we decide, we need to make more content with those.
Do you find that that's kind of hard to stay on top of? Because I know for me, with the content side of it, I'm trying to be better about, okay, I need to do 2 posts a day, and they have to be so many carousels. Do you find that tends to be somewhat of a challenge?
It can be, yeah. Like sometimes it'll just, and I think that was the biggest stepping stone, was going from like posting content, every few months, just to, let people know we're still alive, we're still on here.
Here's our smoke signals.
Yeah, since smoking signals. But now we're trying to stay on a consistent, posting schedule. Tiffany handles that really well. She does most of our content shooting. I just don't have as much of a knack for it, quite frankly. I'm not as on top of it all of the time. So we moved to scheduling a lot of posts and trying to post different animals each week if we can.
Yeah. So as far as your collection now, what do you have in your collection now as far as species?
Oh, what do we not have?
Start rattling them off.
So the bulk of my collection is my Dominican red mountain boas. I have 5 adults,
Okay.
and then from my babies and a couple other people's babies, I have around 40 growing up of different various stages. So a lot.
So that would be your primary species.
That would be my primary species. I really have a goal to, I have visual calicos, and I like working with visual calicos of that species. And then a lot of the stuff I'm growing up, because they don't go through that onogenic color shift till later on.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff, I don't know if it'll be calico or not, but I'm holding it back for color or pattern just to be able to reproduce those later on.
And then what other species do you have?
So we have a lot of Caribbean species. We have Eleuthera Islands, Haitians, Jamaicans. I'm really hoping to pair my Jamaicans next year. Non-Caribbean stuff, we have our Amazons, of course.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite lately, though, has been my annulated tree boas. We have some Boega, we have Cyaneas, and then we're going to get at least some Gemma Cinctifs from Patrick this year. And then I think we're also working with the Thai bamboo grass.
Coming to Texas, I'm going to come be your neighbor. Oh, I wish. What a collection. Yeah, I'm jealous. I got like collection envy over here. Because obviously, like the Boiga, we can't keep here. So, I mean, we can. I just need 1,000 hours of venomous apprenticeship and with Boiga species. So, I'm jealous. So you plan on breeding like all of those species, or some of them you're just going to grow out and keep as pets, or what's the?
Most of them, the Dominicans, I'm not going to breed all of those babies, obviously, but they go through such a color change. I'm really waiting till they get a little bit older before I decide what to do. And I like to give them years off in between breeding so I can kind of rotate them in and out. The Amazons will all be breeding. The annulateds, I have more males than females currently, so some of those will just be pets. I think most of our stuff will be breeding, but there's some animals that I'm like, the annulates, I love them so much. I'm more than happy keeping whatever ratio I can get my hands on.
Do you find that they pretty much all keep within the same parameters, or there's some that are drastically different than others?
Most of them are generally within the same parameters, with the exception of, the Amazons and a couple of the other species need a lot more humidity. And then the Thai bamboo rats, those are going to be a lot cooler, so I keep them differently than the rest of my collection.
Okay. And then, so for the most part, you keep racks. Do you keep any of them in bioactive enclosures?
I keep I keep Standing's day geckos.
Okay.
Those are they had 6 eggs this year, and I have those all set up in a bioactive. I ideally would like everything in huge, enclosures, bioactive. I just don't currently have the space. So now most of my stuff are in appropriately sized racks.
Yeah. I mean, they both have their things, right? So with the racks, we can still house them correctly and just much more space efficiency.
Yeah, that's kind of what people are like, oh, is everything in a bioactive? And I'm like, well, some of my species, they'll never be in a bioactive. Like, yeah. It's not appropriate. Just because people always assume because we built bioactives for so long, oh, everything must be bioactive. But realistically, that's just not what's best for some of the species. So,
no. And then much more so like with the babies.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, those, they just won't establish correctly. I need to be able to keep an eye on them. The cocci are in bioactives. Those two, our two adults are in bioactives, and then the two babies are in racks. But most of the stuff, I really like the racks for, space efficiency and being able to keep them in appropriate sized enclosures.
From your breeding of the species you did last year, what were some successes, some learning lessons? What were takeaways from that?
So last year I just did the Dominicans.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed it. I loved watching all of them, thrive. One of the things I had to learn was, because they have such big litters, some of them will just fail to thrive. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can change. There's no rhyme or reason why, unless you do a necropsy on each baby.
It get pricey.
Yeah, it can get pricey. And when you have around 50 babies, it can add up. So I think last year I had 4 total fail to thrive. And it sucked. But during all of that, all mine started on anoles. So I got to go through the fun feeding trials and figure out how some love eating off tongs, some love initially just drop feeding and hoping for the best, and then switching over to rodents was a fun experience.
When you switched over to rodents, did you start with live or did you start right away with frozen thawed?
So nothing in my collection eats live feeders except for I forgot. I have panther chameleons. Those are just pets. I have 4 of them. They're all just pets. Those eat live insect feeders. But rodents, I don't feed anything live, and my anoles are frozen thawed as well.
Okay.
But they did move to scented so I tried everything. I tried scenting with Reptilinks, scent juice, tried scenting with a anole. But honestly, I had the best luck with the breeder just started making them this year. They're meant for hog noses, but it's anole and frog scent strips. And so you use the dehydrated strip, and you're supposed to put a little piece straight on the pinky. But I have so many babies that I ended up making a broth. And that was honestly my biggest success factor with transitioning them.
And how bad did that stink up the house?
Not too bad. Not as bad as crickets smell, so...
Yeah, crickets are disgusting.
Crickets, they're a necessary evil in my life every week.
I actually switched because I have a couple of lizards, and we don't do crickets anymore. I just strictly roaches. They're a little bit more expensive, but I'm like, they don't smell nearly as bad.
They smell a lot.
They don't keel over and die all the time.
All the time. There's nothing you can do. People are like, oh, you're just keeping it wrong. I'm like, no.
There's nothing you can do.
There's nothing.
The temp shifts, they're ruined by a degree, and it's like, oh, half of them die, and then they stink to high heaven.
And you're like, oh, wonderful. I could have just been feeding roaches. No, I primarily feed dubia roaches. Mm-hmm. And then, including my standings, they all get a mixed diet. So I offer them Pangea as well as roaches and crickets.
Okay, that's fair. So obviously, recently, I'm going to pull this up because I love this baby. Well, it's not really a baby anymore. You recently acquired this guy.
Yes, I wanted to make sure I posted that right before the show.
She's like, I knew you were going to talk about that one. So tell us about this beautiful leopard.
He is absolutely gorgeous.
Yes,
he is even more gorgeous than I could have imagined. He was acquired. We got lucky with was getting out of it, and we purchased several adults that some of them will be breeding next year, but the female leopard to this male will be growing up for another 2 years. But he is by far, the Amazons are more of Tiffany's thing, but the leopards, oh my gosh, he is gorgeous, and he is a adult male.
Yeah, he is freaking stunning. When you sent me over your pictures, I was like, oh, hot damn. Like,
Yeah, Dayton did a great job producing him. He is absolutely gorgeous.
yeah, the contrast on him is freaking insane. So, just go ahead and put me down on the list for 2 years from now.
I've got you. I'll put you down. I like giving things extra time, like to grow up. So even if she could be ready next year, she's so much smaller than I thought she would be, and I'm like, oh no, you're getting as much time as you need to grow up. But I think the leopards are so gorgeous, and I think it's because they remind me of my annulated so much.
Yeah. Well, and the contrast on this
Mhm.
particular guy is freaking outstanding.
He is gorgeous.
So, yeah, so if you down the road end up, even if it's 2 years from now, 3 years from now, a baby that you're going to let go of that has that kind of contrast, hello, this bitch will take it.
He is definitely a very well-produced animal, and he's slowly becoming one of my. Every time I look through my collection, I'm like, oh, you're my favorite. Oh no, you're my favorite. But he's definitely one of the highlights.
Yeah, he's good breeding stock too, so he's got good genetics for sure. So with your various species, we're going to kind of cut back a little bit. The ones that aren't in racks, well, what racks do you use? And then for the various ages, and then any PVC enclosures that you use, like what are your preferences for that?
So my preferences are mainly we've tried all of the racks, especially for the adult Dominicans because they are semi-arboreal. So we've offered them in the past strictly, 2x2x4s, 24x18x36s, 4x2x2s. We've offered them everything, and every single time they will use absolutely any space you give them, whether it's more, vertical space or if you're using a traditional rack system, they will absolutely use it all. So they're in, can't remember what the size is, the largest adult rack size. So those are the biggest. And then I have a shoebox rack for all of my babies. That's becoming the universal thing, even though back in the day after I got out of ball pythons, I sold all of my shoebox racks.
Only to buy more later. Hindsight, right?
Right? It seems like a great idea. My babies, originally I was using the Vivarium Electronics tubs because that's what I had at the time, but there's so much variation between the tub sizes. So the humidity between bins just wasn't consistent enough. So I really like the shoebox bins for most of my babies. And then I have Canberra tubs, and then the adult Amazons are in actually a wonderful, I think it's, I want to say 66 quart tub 5-tier rack that Alan with Recoil Reptiles built. I really love that. And then I think that's about it. And then of course I have racks for my quarantine area and stuff like that. I really like, I keep a single Cambro tub for any, specific larger Amazon that I get in that needs to go into quarantine as well.
And then your quarantine area, you keep, that's like on a whole different.
Yep. I keep so anything that is new, has came in, anything like that, it automatically goes into quarantine. It goes away from the collection. Every time I even come back from an expo, I don't touch anything. Everything gets immediately washed because I do expos quite often. Mm-hmm. So there's just a procedure. Every time we come home, clothes immediately get washed, immediately shower, don't step foot, whether it's quarantine or a regular collection.
Avoid that room like the plague.
Just avoid it. Just don't even look at it. Don't glance. Don't even worry about it.
Well, a lot of people, they don't think about that, honestly. They don't think that far into it, or it's just kind of routine for them to come home and go check on their collection. But it's like, they don't stop for just 5 seconds and think about it. But like even unboxings, people will walk into their main collection and unbox a snake. It's like, now you've just touched everything. If the animal has gone to the bathroom in that bag, you've touched feces, you're touching surfaces. Like, I don't think people think that far into the process sometimes.
We also have different, like we have different feeding tongs for everything. Just so there's no, even though we wash them after every single feeding, there's no going back and forth. But yeah, all of the quarantine area is a really big deal because I've just heard too many horror stories.
And then how many, obviously you test while they're in quarantine, even if they've already had clean tests. So how many times do you test before you're like, okay, you've tested X amount of times, like I've observed you for X amount of months, you're good to move into the regular collection?
Honestly, normally once or twice. It really depends. In the last couple of years, I've gone very particular about who I get from.
Yes.
Because that makes a huge difference. But even then, even if I trust them, my best friend, whatever, it's still going in quarantine. And most of the time I like to keep stuff in quarantine for ideally 6 months.
That's fair. I mean, that's what I do for mine. They all go right to the office because that's where my quarantine rack is in my office. I use it like as a footstool, when I'm doing my homework. I really do actually, though, because it's short, so I prop my feet up on it sometimes.
No, it works out. I have another adult quarantine rack because I only keep a 2-tub adult quarantine rack because I'm never bringing adults in. It's actually in my kitchen. So every time I go to cook, I make sure, oh, hey, we're doing good. Okay.
Yeah, no, my kids would be in and out of that so much it wouldn't even be funny. The damn snake would never eat again because it'd be so stressed out. Let's see here. So we're gonna kick it over because you sent me quite a few pictures.
I did. I've sent you so many afterwards. I mean, oh man, I sent her tons of photos.
It's okay though. I love them. This has become my favorite part of this. And honestly, like Ro is the one who started with the pictures, and kudos to my partner in crime because I would have never freaking thought of it. But now I'm like, man, people love seeing that stuff. And they like, even with the Amazons, there's not a lot of information out there about them still. So especially with species like that, you throw them up on the screen, you're like, okay, this is what we're looking at. And then people can kind of use it as a reference later too. So, all right. Without further ado, some of Leah's amazing freaking collection. All right. So this is, talk about this one.
This is actually my female leopard that will be paired to that male leopard.
Okay.
This one was also produced by Dayton, and she's absolutely gorgeous. But you're right, that male's really the stunner. But I still love her. She's actually got a really great temperament too.
She's pretty. She still has some contrast. So do you think she's going to get more contrast as she ages, or do you think we're going to kind of favor this coloring?
I think she might favor this coloring, but I'm hoping she will get a little bit more contrast because obviously I didn't see what the male looked like at this age, but I'm definitely hoping she gets more contrast. Either way, I think she's a gorgeous animal I have.
Yeah, Randy, I think we all agree.
Definitely. I'm definitely jealous of his leopards. Like, I'm so glad I have to because I could kind of have endless of these.
Yeah, I think we all agree. He has some freaking killer leopards. All right, so let's pull up. Look at this one. The tiger.
Oh, gorgeous. This one's actually unsexed, and I haven't really bothered to probe it because I frankly didn't care if it was male or female. It was produced by Poe's Boas. Super beautiful tiger. This is the only, no, now I have 3 tigers, but this is my first tiger. I know I need a liger. That's next.
Nobody lets ligers go, Randy. Let's be honest.
Yeah, let's be honest. No one lets them go, and that's what I want next. That's the goal. I was gonna say, I was like, really need a liger, but nobody lets them go.
Everybody sits on them. You'd think we were a bunch of Chondro people not letting the ligers go. People don't ever let their Chondros go. Oh my God. Oh, little peanuts.
Oh, yes. I love taking photos to show just how red some of my babies are. So I don't like taking photos of any of the Dominicans in like super bright, direct sunlight. Oh, thank you. I love this female too. They go through such a shift, like from like 6 months to like a year can be so different, but I really like to try to do my photos in indirect light and let people see just how red they already are as babies.
That's pretty.
Yes, so this is Scarlet. Is actually my female that's gravid right now. She should be having babies like last week. Like she's
No pressure, Scarlett.
no pressure, Scarlet. No pressure. Your scale separation is so big and you look so uncomfortable.
She's beautiful. Holy cow.
Thank you. She's a long-term captive. She was my first Dominican ever, actually. I thought, I know it takes them so long, and they're always changing. You could be like, you think they're beautiful 6 months, and then you're like a year later, you're like, okay, what are we doing with our colors now? But
she's beautiful.
Thank you. She came to me the late 21 or early 22, and I had never planned to breed the species or anything. But then she was undersized for what she should be, just overall. So I slowly got her, going and getting established more. And this year I decided, you know what? She's around 10. Let's try bring her, see what happens. She went off food and she immediately locked up with one of my males.
Now, would you say that keeping them is similar to keeping Amazons, or is it totally different level of keeping?
I would say totally different level of keeping. These guys, for me, it's because I've been working with them longer. It's easier, and they're extremely much more docile. The babies tend to musk a lot, but my adults are mainly puppy dogs. These guys are very easy. I keep my Amazons on their substrate is actually puppy pads. I really like that, just fit nicely. These guys typically are, when they're in enclosures, they're on like Reptile or a blend. And then in my racks, because where I live in Houston, I keep them on the pine bedding. I find it goes really well. My humidity in my house is at like 65% all the time. So in racks, the Reptile chipper blend just doesn't really work because she'll be sitting at 85% humidity some days.
Yeah. When it's raining in the enclosure like it is inside mine behind me right now.
That's exactly what it'll be like all the time. And I have I really like the Govee thermostats that they have that measures, the temperature, humidity.
Yeah.
I have those in a lot of my enclosures and my racks and different bins just to make sure everything's staying where it needs to go.
Let's little red baby.
So this is Craxus. This is one of our first reds. This is from Tropical Natives. And then my Calico that's also coming up is a half sibling to this one. Yeah. So she is a half sibling to the red. And the Calicos and the reds and like the leopards, they're definitely where the interest for the Amazon lies. We have some other stuff, but it just doesn't do it as much as these guys do it.
Well, and the variations and even just the red calicos, you have red with white or you have red with black, or
I know the variations so much, and this is just as babies. I can't wait to see what they look like as full-grown adults.
We've got,
and this is one of my Eleuthera Island boas, actually produced by Steve Woodward out in Arizona. They're very slept on a lot. Not a lot of people know about them, but I really like them. They look really different to me anyways.
How big do they get?
they get about Dominican size, so they'll get about 6 feet long.
Okay.
I really like them. There's some other species like the Cubans I really enjoy, but they get a bit larger than I would ideally keep.
We have this big, beautiful baby.
Yes, my this one overall seems to be most people's favorite snake. She's my silver-faced Jamaican female. She's an adult. She's from Crutchfield Lines, but I acquired her from Alex England.
Mm-hmm.
And she will actually be, hopefully, being bred for the first time this next year. There's not many of, like, there's, and then the Jamaicans can't actually be sold from state to state. They can only be gifted. So
Okay.
I don't have as many of those, but I will be slowly. I have 4, so I'm probably not getting any more than the 4 I have. And this is actually Fatality now. So you can see just the difference of how much a couple months makes.
Yeah, you definitely got more white in there too.
Mm-hmm. So this is, I want to say this is Flint, one of my annulateds. This is either Flint or Arcadia. They're siblings, and they're both super dark. I'm going to be having a 3.2 group of them. Thank you, Randy. I agree.
That pattern is freaking wild.
I know. These guys, they mesmerize me. They're kind of, they're not this bright color, so not everyone's immediately drawn to them, but their demeanor is like puppy dogs.
Yeah, but they still, like, the patterning on it still is something that's eye-catching.
It's so eye-catching, and I love to see how they mature. They mainly come in browns, tans, chestnuts, and then right now I have an orange that's about to come in that's from Zoo Lines, actually, and it's so hard to get someone to let go of an orange, so I'm super excited to be adding him.
The collection grows.
The collection grows. And then this is my very first annulated I got, and he kind of, was the one that fueled the addiction. Actually, the orange I will be getting in was originally the one that I'd first seen on Morph Market that had sparked the interest. And then I had been going back and forth, and when I'd found out the same orange I was inquiring about was the one, I was going to end up with, my heart was over the moon. But this is Silas. He's actually a nice lighter version, and I really like that there's such a big color gradient between them.
Yeah, there's a huge
difference
in the two of them.
And he's not related to the other 2 I currently have. So his lightness, I really love that. I love how light brown he is and how much he still has contrast in his pattern.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And then this is Paradox. This is my Calico Dominican Red Mountain Boa, and we're assuming she's long-term captive. She has a whole ordeal. There's very few guys of these in the world. So being able to track them down, from what we've been able to tell, she's been in captivity for many years, and she actually bred last year, but I'm keeping all of the babies back for now. I'm not releasing.
So don't even try to put yourself on that list.
Yeah, there was a few people I thought about letting some go to that have some from, actually Dustin Larson owns the other pair of visual calicos that male sired her litter. And I raised all of the babies last year for him. And so I let some of those go, but I'm still holding a good amount of those babies back as well.
I mean, if they're hard to come by, I don't blame you whatsoever.
And we don't know that, because of that onogenic color shift, you don't know until they're adults. So
they all stay behind. That's
and then this is Sparta. He's my male Jamaican, also gifted to me from Steve Woodward out in Arizona. He'll be 3 coming up soon. So he's hopefully going to be breeding size next year. This is typically what a Jamaican will look like versus the silver face of my other one.
And then last but not least.
This is one of my yearlings. This is one of my favorite yearlings I have. She doesn't have too bright of saddles, but I really like how she's growing up. And, you know, occasionally I do try posting different babies and yearlings I have growing up so people can kind of see the variation and how the timeline goes by with their color.
Beautiful. Let's take that back down. Really, I'm not clicking fast enough. Lord have mercy. Okay, so trials and tribulations you've learned through the years of keeping reptiles. What's some of the things that you've learned that you wish you had known before the lesson was learned? I guess if that's makes any sense. Like if somebody could have just told you instead of you having to go through it, what's some of the things that you wish you had known?
Quarantine. Like your best friend quarantine everything. And I haven't had any really bad experiences. Just overall, I wish, you know, when I started this like 5 years ago, I could go back, and I was only 19 at the time. So when all of this started, so I really wish I could go back in time and be like, hey, quarantine. Also, just expect to spend most of your life on this. This little hobby, you thought that you were getting some pets. No, this is going to become your whole life.
It's worse than tattoos.
It's honestly more expensive than tattoos.
Tattoos, cars, motorcycles, like it makes those look like cheap hobbies.
We do Pokemon too, like we collect some Pokemon, and sometimes I'm like, man, this is so expensive, and then I look at my reptiles, I'm like, never mind, it's not that bad.
It really is a lifestyle.
It is. Once you get to a certain point, I think I talked about this at NARBC with a couple of breeders, it is a lifestyle.
Very much so. I mean, because it becomes truly like part of your day to day, even like you live, breathe, you know, it's always on your mind.
I mean, that's why almost every Sunday when I'm at a show, I'm planning to try driving back that night, even if it's like 6 to 8 hours, because Monday morning is I'm deep cleaning everything, because I've been
at work with Morph Market out, just refreshing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm every morning. That's what I'm doing. I wake up Monday, check Morph Market, and then I go, okay, now I gotta go take care of my whole collection, and that's when I deep dive everything.
Anything else that you would take away?
Always be absorbing information, and I think I've done that, but at the same time, I wish I would have known where to look for it and who to talk to, and not be, at the time, I would go back and tell myself people will take you seriously at one point, because it was harder starting as like a younger female and having people, I think one was like, where are your parents at? And I was like, no, it's me. I'm buying the reptiles and stuff. So I think that was one of my biggest things. Now it's not as much an issue, but a couple of years ago, I wish I could go back and say it gets better. You know, people will take you seriously at some point.
I think eventually, as people see that, like, it's not just a game to you, but it's truly a passion, and you have a passion for your animals and a passion for learning, I think that the mentality shifts. For me personally, I haven't really had somebody point blank be like, you know, a little girl this or a little girl that, but not to say that I haven't seen other females be talked down to in the hobby just for being females, even though they bring so much knowledge to the table. You know, but for me, I've always been around male-oriented hobbies. I grew up in the car scene. I grew up in the bike scene. So I'm kind of used to having to fight my way up and be little fish fighting up the stream. But I do think more women should not be intimidated by the few jackasses in the hobby, because there's only a few.
That's the biggest thing I can say. And seeing like younger women, even like kids, like girls getting into the hobby, I get so excited seeing it, because I was also around like bikes and cars growing up. So going from that, oh, it's a pleasure meeting you too, Randy. That was the highlight of my trip to Washington with the Pac Northwest show. I was so excited after meeting him.
But yeah, no, I just had a 15-year-old little girl here. Well, she was a 15-year-old teenager here yesterday, Sunday. What's today? Today's Monday. Yeah, she was here yesterday with her mom. Because every time her mom's been reaching out to people out here about letting her daughter just go visit a collection and see a collection and get her hands on different species, and the doors kept getting shut in her face. So I was like, I may not have everything that she's into, but bring her over. She can ultrasound. She can, take some babies out of the incubator that need to be put into their bins, and, just experience it. And I think we as women, if we support other women in the hobby, and the younger generation in particular, and bringing them up, I think it's just going to help the hobby grow more.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I'm always, a lot of the other reptile keeper I know that are women stuff, we've had the conversation of, we love that this is becoming not just a male dominated hobby, but there are others like serious reptile keepers that are women. And it's not just, oh, that's cute, you're doing your little reptile thing. It's like, oh no, you're like a badass reptile keeper.
Yes. But the only way we're going to do that is through hard work. So
exactly. Lots of hard work, lots of cleaning tubs, lots and lots.
Lots of snake shit.
Lots of snake shit. There's urates, tons of urates, tons of probably changing your shirt because the snakes made you smell.
Yes. Mine's the gagging. Plenty of footage on my cameras of me gagging. But yeah. Or dropping a rat when I'm going to feed and I drop the rat. It takes off and you see me chasing it around the snake room.
That's the worst. Or with the Amazons, them tagging a rat, dropping it, and then having to feed them another rat because they won't eat the one they've dropped, and then having to retrieve the rat from the enclosure.
Or the tongs. When they grab the tongs too, you're just like, oh, okay. Well, thank God I got 30 more freaking sets of these damn things sitting around here.
I know, like, wonderful. Thank you for increasing my feeding time.
My babies that are at the point of growing out of their shoe boxes now, they strike, but when they're striking, they're actually like coming out of the tub and like striking and hanging down. And I'm like, now I gotta sit here with all these tubs with babies half hanging out. Like, can we?
That's my favorite. And then I hand feed my Cyanea. So I'll sit there at the end of every feeding, and I've come to like her. Like, I love her so much because I have to sit there and just wait until she finally takes it and make sure she's not going to drop it.
The things we do for our animals, right?
The things we do. I only feed at night too. So I'll be like at midnight running around like a mad woman. And I'm like, if anyone ever broke into my house, they would just see the craziest things happening.
You're like, what the hell is this woman doing?
Just shuts the door. Not this house.
Yeah, no. They get their meals when they get them around here. They don't get fed at a specific time. They don't get fed at night all the time. Like, it might be morning. It might be lunchtime. You get it when you get it. If you don't eat, you can eat next week. Like,
you're like, no big deal. That's okay. On to the next.
We don't have time for this. Like, you're just. You're not hungry? All right, cool. Catch you next Saturday,
That's what I do when I was doing feeding trials, my feeding time was up over like 3 hours. And it would be like, now I have my feeding down to about an hour, but most of the time it would be like, all right, I'm leaving that in there. We're done with this. We're going on to the next animal.
oh, the more you know, the things you don't know until you've experienced it. It's
The
like,
things no one can really prepare you for, that's actually going to be the most work with reptiles.
yeah, it's definitely not in a handbook anywhere. That's for sure.
No, you can't read it anywhere. It's just, you gotta just power through it. And I feel like that's been a lot of my breeding experience over the last year has been, you just gotta gung-ho through it and figure it out so you can know it for next year's babies.
But then once you've gone through it, now it's okay. Now I know what I want to do next go around and what I don't want to do next go around, which is, knowledge is power.
Exactly. I completely agree. It makes me feel a lot better about this year, but 3 litters last year of the Dominicans feeding anoles, and then I had to write a list of, this one eats chick down, this one eats quail heads, this one eats pinkies unscented, this one tongs, no tongs, and I keep very detailed records of all of them. So pulling feeders out was kind of insane.
Did you find that it would help you if like you wrote it on like index cards? Because I know for like my babies, I do individual index cards.
So I have index cards I send home with people.
Yeah.
But I actually I do a master sheet that I keep everything on, but also I keep it in my notes, and it looks kind of crazy. It'll be like the ID number, this 8, this 8, and this 8, and then I'll do it into categories. Feed this one's tongue, this one this one this.
Randy said that's why he took a year, maybe 2 off of.
They're a really rewarding species, but it can be a whole ordeal with them.
And so now you have a notebook. So I don't have babies yet, but I don't even know if you can see it. No, you can't see it from there. Shit. So I have where I write down literally like everything for the green trees and currently that I'm breeding, so that I literally keep track of notes. So you're not the only one who does notes. And then when I have my Amazons at that point breeding, I'll be doing the same shit. And I'm sure I'll be putting babies in there too. So,
and I bet it looks crazy sometimes. Like you're like, I'm the only person that could really decipher this, but it works.
I just write like little notes, like of observations and changes of behavior, or like if I have a neo, if there's a change in behavior, what it's eating. So I do the same thing. But I mean, it's all over the place. One day, I'll just hand it to somebody and say, here you go, good luck deciphering it. But
that's the dream. You're like, all right, all the notes are there. I've recorded everything. You understanding it might need to be translated. I'm not sure.
Good luck. But, we all have our different things. So, all right. Before we wrap this up, how can people get a hold of you? Social media platforms, website? Are you on Morph Market? Tell us how we can reach you.
I am on Morph Market. I think I only have a few things up right now, but best way to reach out to me is honestly through my Instagram. It might be, if it's sent during like Friday through Sunday, it might be a delayed response because I'm normally at an expo, but Instagram honestly is the best way to reach out to me. We're not doing a website at this time just because it's too much to manage going back and forth. I try posting on Facebook and messaging on Facebook, but it is not ideal for me on there quite yet.
Randy. Randy, come on. I'm old. First of all, I'm old. It's past my bedtime. I don't have a life because all I do is have my nose in a book or have a child, as you saw, following me around. Randy, give me a break, okay? As far as Facebook, I get it. I get it completely. Like, I actually took my Facebook down for a while, and now I'm starting it back up because I'm like, we're going to give this the old college try. And I don't know. I just don't get engagement the same way as I do on IG. I
get engagement through like niche Facebook groups. and posting my stuff in the groups, but posting on my general business page, it's not nearly any engagement. And then the messages, I just don't check Facebook Messenger a lot. So honestly, mainly I use Instagram. Occasionally I'll try posting like TikTok reels, but converting it from reels to TikToks can sometimes be a lot.
Do it the other way.
Do it the other way, do TikToks?
So make it real, like make it little TikTok videos and then just post it as a reel on IG.
I will try that. But reels
and watch the music, because if you like, IG won't flag it, but if you cross post it to Facebook, Facebook will flag some of the songs depending on the country, which is weird because it's all meta. But for some
it's
reason,
all together.
But IG, but it flags on. I don't know. If somebody out there has a book and can tell us how to figure it out, you let me know how to solve this problem.
It would be wonderful for creators everywhere.
Yes, because the struggle is real. All right, Leah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was greatly appreciated.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciated being able to come on and have this conversation.
No, it was fun. It was definitely fun. And then as you get more species on the ground with breeding, definitely want to bring you back on.
Oh, don't start me with getting more species on the ground. That's dangerous. Every time I say I'm done buying snakes for a while, I'm like, oh, this opportunity I can't pass up.
I do, like, at some point, probably beginning of next year, at some point want to bring on several female breeders and, like, you know, just do a little female panel. I want to do like a guys panel of Amazon keepers and breeders, and, you know, switch things up a little bit next year. So we'll definitely have to revisit bringing you back on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was really a pleasure being on here.
Thank you. I'm going to throw you backstage and I'll join you in just a minute. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in and supporting us. Don't forget to tune into the Herp Collectors Network for a variety of other shows that are currently being offered. With that being said, I appreciate you guys, and I hope you guys have a great night.
Chondro Corner, where we rise and grow. Twist and turn, let the passion flow. Chondro Corner, watch the future shine. Every scale a story, one of a kind.
From the shadows we move, striking out bright. In every twist we find the light. Breeding the best, gotta have patience in this game. Chondro Corner, where we make our name. Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner. Chondro Corner, where we rise and grow. Twist and turn.